me turn around. Hi. Hey, everyone. I am exactly 3 minutes late. I apologize. Let me tell you, I just spent, hi, Virginia. Give me feedback. I'm going to email you to see how everything's coming along or post in the group. I spent the last probably half hour or more trying to recoup. Oh, thank you. Trying to recoup a flight. Hi, Amanda. Hi. Everybody follows Amanda. She has like the greatest, most motivational scopes ever. Oh, thanks, Virginia. I appreciate that. So first off, who am I? I am Nativa, the Frugal CrediTnista, America's leading lady of credit education. I own MNHCreditSolutions.com. Hi, Ebony and Chrissy. Where credit transformations happen, we teach you to destroy your debts, grow your money, and soar your credit scores. Hi, Exquisite Credit, Jamaican Nature. Hey, everyone. I literally flew it here. I have been spending the last 45 minutes. You know how you see a flight, but you wait a little bit? Would you believe in those few minutes, the flight went up to like, it wasn't that bad, like $53. But it was the principle, you guys. It was the principle. I had to get that price back. Thank you so much, Virginia. I appreciate it. Yeah, exactly. But still, I got the price back. I went on Google Flights. They still had the old price there. So I was like, oh my God, what time is it? I got that price, honey. I got that price. Okay. Thank you so much for involving your followers. I appreciate it, guys. We are going to get into some pretty dope information. So please tap security over there in the corner. Save that money, baby. You know it. Tap that security in the corner. Let your friends and followers in. We are going to talk about rebuilding after bankruptcy. For those of you who don't know my story, I actually did file bankruptcy. Yes, I'm a credit professional. The principal of so many sketch mutual. Girl, I was serious. Like, I literally hit send and I finished the transaction at like 6:29. Thank you guys so much for involving your followers. 6:29, okay? I was like, I am getting this deal, okay? For $53. And you know, men, why don't you just pay that $50? No, I will not. All right, guys, let's get into it. I'm pretty excited about this one, but just so you can know a little bit about me. I've been actually in real estate for, oh my gosh, August will be 12 years, 13 years. And I've been doing credit for a little bit after that. So not too long, for over 10 years. You've seen you probably have or have not. I know I blast myself when I get media mentions, but in the New York Times, featured in creditcards.com, Go Banking Rates, The Street, to name a few. But I am a credit professional, featured in all of those, and I have filed bankruptcy. Yes. I have, and I'll give you a little bit background on why. I always made a lot of money in real estate. I know that money saving rush. Yes, I always made a lot of money in real estate until the crash, and it wasn't the effects of the crash because I had enough clients and investments where I could have rolled it out a little bit until I was hit with cervical cancer. So I was told I had cervical cancer, and you know, you can't really get your hustle on while you're going through all of that. And if you were going to ride the wave in the community that I served in real estate, you had to get your hustle on. So I was faced with a drastic drop. Oh, thank you, Virginia. I was faced with a drastic drop in income because of that. I still had a few deals go through, but it was nothing like before. So I scheduled my first surgery. My husband and I were just dating back then. He rocked with me the whole time, so that's when I knew he must have been all types of awesome sauce. And found that I was pregnant, 3 months pregnant, so I couldn't proceed with the rest of the, yes, praise God, honey. I couldn't proceed with the rest of the surgeries because how cervical cancer works, if you catch it early enough, they can just take those cancerous cells out without you having to go through anything else or before it spreads or anything like that. So, but yeah, now I'm knocked up. My income has reduced dramatically. My husband's in education, and unfortunately, they don't pay educators as well as they should, considering what you guys go through as teachers, as administrators. Hi. But it was a lot. It was a lot to deal with emotionally. It was a lot to deal with financially. Not to mention that I still had an ego. There's something that happens when your income drastically changes. It doesn't quite register to your habits, your financial habits. So I was still... Like, I remember the day I found out, like, I went, got a manicure, pedicure, worked out, treated myself to Bar Louie's. Treated myself to Bar Louie's. They have a great carrot cake there. And, oh, thanks, honey. And then I literally, like, looked in the mirror, and I was like, gee, it was just a weird moment because you look good, but it's something how this foreign entity has come in and is like tearing your body apart. And then I have kids. I never wanted kids. Never wanted kids. So now I have, a child coming, and then I'm broke. And it was just a moment, honey. But what happened? I tried to climb my way out of it using the savings that we did have. I didn't save much. I was in my fresh 20s and was spending it as soon as it came in. So I didn't have much saved. My boyfriend at the time was totally awesome, taking care of me. He's not my husband. Taking care of things, It was just a trying moment. But I did have the opportunity to apply for state funding. Or state aid, I believe they called it. Because another thing that I noticed that young realtors do is we don't become well insured. And my insurance sucked, okay? It was really bad. Like, it barely covered everything. So, in came the medical bills. And they were like, well, you might qualify for state aid. And, why don't you go down and apply? Have you guys ever had to deal with a state aid employee? Type in 1 or yes or what have you in the comments. Have you ever had to go in there and deal with them buttholes? Okay, so I went in there already thinking that ego is already on there. And so the fact that I needed something, thank you, Evan, the fact that I needed something from state aid was an ego, just tore my ego down, honey. The fact that I had to go in there, okay? And then to have this heifer looking at me and feeling sounding, it's like, young, dumb, didn't realize, okay, just forget her and go and get this state aid that you need. I was like, heifer, I'm out of here. Yeah, my dumb butt left up out of there filling out the paperwork. But do the bills stop because my ego? Yes, I walked out. Do the bills stop? You did too? Because of your ego? Of course the bills don't stop. Of course the bills don't stop. So they continue to rack up. And my thinking was that if I can let all of the other bills fall to the wayside for, any vaginal ultrasounds and all of the stuff they had to do and just pay the guy who was, performing the main surgeries, then I should be okay. So what did I do with those? I charged them. Yes, I took a medical debt that could have potentially be charity assistance, financial assistance. They didn't offer it as well as they used to or well as they do now with the Obama's Affordable Care Act, but they still offered it. So instead of doing that, what did I do? I charged it and made it into an unsecured debt. What do you think happened? I couldn't pay it. So what do you think they started doing? Trying to sue my behind. And so Nativa had to protect herself, and I filed bankruptcy. Okay? I filed bankruptcy. So I wanted to tell you a little background because there is something that occurs when most people file or even are considering filing. There's that little bit of shame that happens, right? Thank you so much, Chrissy. There's a little bit of shame that happens, or embarrassment, or a defeatist type attitude. And a lot of people don't really take that in consideration when they think about the rebuild process. And that's why one of two things happen. Number one, they rebuild too fast. Number two, they don't rebuild fast enough because they haven't really gotten over that. They haven't really gotten over that. And so one of the main things that I would advise is to, take a little bit reflection moment. Not long though, but take a little time. You usually have between the time that you file and the time that you're discharged about 90 days anyway. So you can't really do much until you're discharged. So take that 90 days to really reflect and put a strategic plan into place. So what I did, even though I was embarrassed, I'll be real with you guys, almost everybody in my immediate family has filed, but I was the only one to get, a substantial amount of income. So I thought I would never be in this position. Okay, number one. And I also was like, damn, how did I get this far and then be right here, right now where I said I would never be? How did this happen? And it was just beyond a blow of the ego. It really, I felt like a failure. And I noticed that a lot of my clients feel the exact same way. And whereas before as a credit consultant and a credit counselor, I'd be like, girl, if you don't get over that, because it didn't register. I couldn't relate. But now I'm like, okay, yes, take some time. And this is about to be a gross analogy, I'm going to tell you. But just as you have some things kind of upset your stomach a little bit, you go on what? Let it out. Okay, so that's exactly what you want to do if you want to move forward properly and permanently is to let the past go and focus on the solution. Focus on the rebuild. Use this fresh start as a time where you never get back into this situation again. And that's really where the Frugal CrediTnista happened. Because before, I was like the wasteful fashionista, honey, okay? That was all I thought about. Fun, entertainment, shopping, bananas. But then I realized how important money is, and I wanted to use this instrument as an opportunity for me to never go through that again. 7 for 13, 10 for 7. So let's get into it, since you're rushing me. So number 1, reflect. What happened? Because my money issues didn't happen when I found out all of this happened. And it was well before then, because although you can never quite be prepared for anything like a medical emergency, or actually any emergency at all, that's why it's called an emergency, by having good spending habits, having good financial behaviors, having a solid savings system in place, I could have definitely cushioned the blow a lot more. Okay, so now that you're in rebuilding mode, now it's time to plan. So number 1, you pause, reflect, relate, flush it out. Okay, number 2, start putting a plan into place. All right, budget. Yes, you must do the dreaded B. Do a spending plan before you go and apply for any credit card. See if that credit card can really fit into your budget right now. Because sometimes you really have to go, I mean, even though the creditors are gone, you still need a budget in place so that you can A, make sure that you're not living below your means. B, if you're in a Chapter 7, you can immediately start saving. If you're in a 13, which we're not going to talk about too much today, but I'll still answer some questions because I know I had them in there. But you want to be in a position where when you're finally discharged from that 13, you can immediately start applying, because 13, it discharges faster. And you'll find in some cases that some of the creditors from the 13 are going to be gone off of your credit report before you're even done paying them off through the Chapter 13 payment arrangements. So set a budget. And then I actually have a list of questions because this topic was selected by my Credit Makes Sense members. And one of the questions was, how do I know what products to go with? I am going to tell you this. Nothing is going to affect you more negatively than more negative info reporting. And that includes inquiries. Inquiries when you file bankruptcy are like double ding. It really negatively affects your score. So when you're going to go and start applying after bankruptcy, then I want you to, thank you, honey. Sorry, a contract just came in and my little mini assistant came through and gave it to me. But what you're going to want to do is to avoid as many dings as possible, and that includes your inquiries, okay? So I usually like to go to those who do a pre-qualification, meaning it's a soft pull, like an account review on my credit reports or my clients' credit reports, so that they don't have to incur a hard inquiry and then don't get the card. Because how inquiries work, you get dinged on, thank you, stylist, Miss Natasha, you get dinged on the inquiry itself. You get dinged on the appearance of a new account, and you can get dinged on the credit denial, an inquiry that's not related to an account on your name. This does not apply, obviously, to student loans, mortgages, cars where you can shop around, but it does apply to personal loans, credit cards, and things of that sort, okay? So that's one thing you're going to do. Do the pre-qualification offers. I also like for my post-discharge bankruptcy clients, I like for them to do secured products. That's another reason why a budget is so important, because now I like to do 2 on the exact same day. Okay, 2 on the exact same day. A secured card and a secured credit builder loan that you can do through a credit union. Why? Because post-bankruptcy discharge, you do not meet, in most cases, I won't say all cases, you do not meet a lot of the bank requirements for one of their secured cards. So you can go with a First Premier, you can go through a Credit One, but you're not going to qualify for like Chase. Like, it's not going to happen. So I want you to apply for a SEER. Oh, hey, Reese Cakes. I didn't go through much. How do y'all recap? So you want to go through a secured product first. That's why the budget is so necessary. Okay? So once you have the secured product, and you're having 2, so you're going to have the installment loan and you're going to have the secured credit card. Now, for my Chapter 13, because this was a specific question, and this does defer for you. For those who are about to be discharged, remember Chapter 13 usually is about 5 years. So those who are about to be discharged, usually around that 3rd or 4th year, you want to get approval to start your rebuilding process. If you just start doing it and you start saving more or accumulating more without the trustee's approval, it can get dinged and your whole repayment plan, that monthly amount, is going to potentially increase. So everything that you do, Chapter 13 people, you want to get it approved, but you don't have to wait until discharge. A lot of times by the 3rd, 4th, and definitely that last 5th year, they allow you to start going in. I actually just talked to someone today. Sure. Actually just talked to someone today. She had like 10 cards. That's a bit much. But she's not even done until this year, and she got the trustee's approval. So Credit One, I would advise. Capital One, it really depends, because I know those who got them discharged to Capital One, sometimes they will allow you to get another one right away, and sometimes they make you wait about a year with Capital One. So it really varies. That's why I'm big on that pre-qualification. How many cards do you recommend having? Post-bankruptcy, I would do the security of the cure loan first. Usually every 3 to 4 months, I'm adding on something new. A decent range. If my clients can afford $1,000 for a secured loan, and then maybe another 5. Hi, Justria. Jay, hope I got that right. Hi, Yaya. So if they can afford it, then I will do it. So it really all depends on that budget. But if I'm starting off with just $200 secured credit card and just a $300 secured loan, credit builder loan, then I'm going to rock with that. And I'm going to just have them spend very little. It is so, credit unions, it is so important for you to keep those balances low. So important for you to keep those balances low. I cannot tell you, because remember I talked about the double ding. Do I still have that FICO pie chart over here? So you're double dinged from the inquiry, and you're also dinged for keeping the utilization part of your balances, that part high. Like you have to have more available credit than you do unavailable credit, meaning you've spent it up. You have to keep those balances low. Less than 10% is my rule for those who are rebuilding after bankruptcy. Are you taking new clients right now? I am taking my credit empowerment clients, and I'm taking my financial coaching clients. Okay, if that answers your question. And then for February, when does my person start? She starts on a Saturday. I need a calendar. The first Saturday in February, then I will be taking new clients then, because I brought somebody on to handle the intake. So if I can't do it all alone. So do any of you have any questions just on that? Like starting off with the secured, the budget, the pause, reflect, all that good stuff. And then I can move on. You're welcome. Or just, contact me. I'm really big on giving thorough consultations and putting you guys on the right path. Secured loans. You have questions on secured loans? Let me know what before I move on to the next step. What questions on secure loans? Explain the process. Oh, it's super simple. The loan is secured by your deposit. So if you have $300 on a secured loan, credit union, if your credit is better. Yep, I'll tell you why. It's super easy. You go to the credit union, tell them you want to secure the loan. They'll take your deposit, put it into one of their accounts, and they'll extend a loan for that same amount. Works a little bit differently with the bankruptcy. They do not give you the money right away. They take the security, they start reporting it. Either they report it and then give you the money upon the end of it. So it's like they take your money, they report that you've been making payments even though it's really just in that account, or they'll take the money and put it into the account, and then they'll report it. So each credit union does it a little bit differently depending on what was discharged and where your credit score is laid out. So you want to find out how they do it, because like I said, each credit union differs. And then you also want to find out who they report to, because not every credit bureau reports to all three. Some report to 2, which can be okay, but you really want all 3. Have one secure loan, and getting a second secure loan help. Leave a balance or pay out each month. I would pay out each month. Hi, just cake it. I don't know. It'll really put another installment loan. But if you recall from the last scope that we were on together, cards factor into your scores a lot more than secured loans. Okay, cards factor into your credit scores more so than installment types of. Are there certain types of credit unions you recommend? You know what? All the credit unions are kind of have their own. They're kind of governed. So I haven't met a bad credit union. It really depends, and they're very state specific. Like for instance, I'm with two. One that's up the street. I can never remember the name, but since they were so close, I just opened up kind of like a fun credit account. And the other one is my main one. And I got it because it's very far away and inconvenient. And I know I'm not going to drive all the way up there to get that money, but I did automate the process of having money come out of my regular account into there so that I can make sure that I actually was saving something and wouldn't touch it. Like the chances of me going there. And that's, they're Great Lakes credit union out here. They're here in a couple other Midwestern states. So Google is your friend. And people let you know when they've had a super bad experience, okay? So Google is your friend. Google for reviews. I must be having connection issues. I'm seeing the same people go in and out, so sorry. But Google is your friend. Google your little heart out. So we did the rebuild. An important step that I missed, and I apologize. I actually just saw a question popped up. How should your credit reports look? So before you even do a credit card, do the credit reports. So I'll recap so I can make sure I go in order next time, okay? So you did the pause and reflection, you did the budget, pull them credit reports. How should your credit reports look after you have been discharged from your Chapter 7 bankruptcy? Number one, the bankruptcy will be there once the discharge happens, more cases than none. Cards factor into more. I would recommend both because you are missing your discharge from everything, okay? They should, so the public record will be in there and the accounts that were discharged in bankruptcy will be there. Okay, so they should have a zero balance because everything's been discharged, and they should include either the acronyms IIB included in bankruptcy or actually say discharged in Chapter 7 bankruptcy. The accounts will not be deleted though just because they've been discharged. Some of them will automatically do it. Like I know Bank of America and Chase announced that they will automatically take it off the credit reports. A lot of collections you can get removed because since they are no longer attempting to collect a debt, what's the point of them using reporting on your credit reports as a means to obtain payment? Doesn't make sense, right? So I tackle a lot of those to get off of the credit reports. And anything that doesn't say included in bankruptcy, discharged through bankruptcy, or that doesn't have that zero balance, I go in for the deletion. Do not get the update. Go in for the deletion. Get that stuff off. Now, when do they get removed? That was the other part of this question. They get removed 7 years from the date of original delinquency. 7 years from the date of the original delinquency. So the fact that they were discharged in bankruptcy does not mean that they're going to stay on longer just because they were discharged in bankruptcy. Thank you so much for the hearts. You guys tap that screen. I don't have a bankruptcy. I'm just here getting all the info I can. Oh, okay. Well, thank you. Thank you much. This is still good rebuilding info. So you can repay your student loans while in a Chapter 13. Typically, how student loans work in a Chapter 13, they're like one of the lower priority debts because they're not really going to get discharged through it. So you probably pay like very, very little towards them. I know that's right, Miss Harwa. You probably put very, very little towards them, but they can't come after you or pursue any aggressive collection activities, but you can definitely make additional payments outside of that just to do, hi Angel, how are you? Just to reduce the amount of you're gonna have to pay anyway, because what's gonna happen after your Chapter 7 is complete, you're gonna have to still pay it, and they can come back and tell you, okay, well, while you were in your Chapter 13, this happened, and interest does continue to accrue with student loans. Not the other accounts that are going to be discharged, it does not. But with student loans, I actually called the Department of Ed to get clarification on this on a client that I mentioned earlier. They do still accrue. I didn't know that before. I thought everything, like, stop collection, that's interest. But according to the Department of Ed rep, yes, it does still accrue. Okay? Any questions before I get into the more rebuild on how it should report on your credit report? Now, mind you, for Chapter 13, and I'll just throw this information out there, again, the account won't be removed either. It'll still be on there, okay? However, Instead of your original balance due that's on there, it might shrink it to the amount that was agreed upon by the courts when you did Chapter 13. So make sure that happens, because if it doesn't, then you can go in and get it removed as well for inaccurate. Can you have good credit after you have just finished up there? Absolutely. Absolutely. That's why I said before you complete, don't wait till the whole 5 years. Appeal or get approval to start building your credit before the 5 years is up. That way, once you're completely discharged, and some of those accounts will be gone, the ones that aren't gone will be like all zeroed out and, old. Okay? Then the accounts that you have built, whether it's been for the past year, the past 2 years, or what have you, will start having a little bit of history, and that'll start boosting your credit scores up. So absolutely. The thing is, get approval. Don't just do it. Like, I had a client a couple of years ago. She just started saving a lot of money in an investment account. And so when a trustee found out, they had to redo her payment arrangements because now you got all this extra money, and the creditors are like, really? So you never know who's watching. So just go ahead and get permission when you're in a Chapter 13 before you start the rebuild and bulking up your savings account and starting applying like crazy. Just get approval. They're pretty lenient after the third year. I've noticed around that last year and sometimes at the end of that fourth year, then they're like, go ahead. Go ahead, start rebuilding. And if there's any parameters or special conditions, they'll let you know that in that process. But don't do it without permission, please. Now, when you're in Chapter 7, everything's already discharged. Start after you have created your budget, gotten over that debt, shame, guilt. You flushed it. Realizing that that is your past and it is not any indication of what your future looks like, and use that fresh start like a boss, okay? Use it to get you to a point of permanent financial security and peace of mind. I told you how your credit reports should look for both. I gave you little tips for both, Chapter 7 and Chapter 13, okay? Now the rebuild. Mention for the rebuild, the inquiries will hurt you with a bankruptcy on your credit report, especially if it's tied to a credit denial. So be very, very leery about that, okay? Try to go with either a no credit check secured card just to get something reporting, and a secured card through a credit union. I tried to do both on the same day, all right? Both on the same day just to get both of them reporting around the same time. If you don't want the secured card, remember you want to report to all three, by the way, then try the pre-qualification feature with a subprime card. If you're in Chapter 13, you may not have to do that. Are there any limitations for joining a credit union? No, I've always had pretty, like even after bankruptcy, like fresh out of bankruptcy, I want to join the credit union, and I didn't get any pushbacks. Just try to do a community one or one that's very lenient that you research online. You have already answered this, but I'm in my 9th year after Chapter 7. Does this have to stay on for 10 years? Find a error. I've noticed as some, no, I didn't know anybody. I didn't know anybody. I just went in there and opened it. It has to be in your community though. They're really, really lenient for community ones. But find an error. I noticed as bankruptcies get a little bit, actually a lot bit older, they start lacking on some of the information that's reporting. It could be the amount is all zeroed out, nothing is on there on that. It can be that the courthouse is no longer listed on there. It can be any little thing, and you can find that in disputes for a deletion. I notice sometimes TransUnion, if you call in and ask for an early exclusion, they'll usually allow you to do that within about 6 months. You can try that as well. But I'll be really, really honest with you. After 5 years, that bankruptcy is not affecting your scores as much. I notice a lot of times people are more concerned about the bankruptcy being removed. But I'm going to ask you guys a question. What do you think is more important? The items that were discharged in bankruptcy or the bankruptcy itself? And I'll wait for you guys to answer. BK, meaning the bankruptcy itself, or the stuff that was discharged in bankruptcy. And I'll allow you guys to answer right quick, and then we go. This is Credit Makes Sense. What is more important? Did my mic go out? What is more important? The bankruptcy, BK, or the items that were discharged in bankruptcy? So you can put items, meaning the accounts that were discharged in bankruptcy. Thus, when you file bankruptcy, what the discharge is, meaning that you don't have to worry about paying for them anymore. So that's what discharge in bankruptcy mean. BK, items, BK, Delta Girl, Black. Items. Okay, that was a good one. Actually, it's both. It is both. So when I get somebody that comes in, they equally, how they're scored, they both are negative. The items in bankruptcy as well as bankruptcy itself. So before you go and trying to tackle the bankruptcy, like one of the worst things that you can do is go in and say, oh, I didn't file bankruptcy. That bankruptcy not mine. And then you got like 10, 12, 15, 22 accounts that say item, remember IIB, item including in bankruptcy or discharged through bankruptcy. Like, really? Really? Stop it. Go for the items first. Go for the items first. And the best time to go after those items is to do so right after you get those discharge papers, because a lot of them don't update right away, and you'll even get some sneaky little collections and creditors who will try to still report the negative even after the automatic stay. So go after the items first. Then if you see an inaccuracy in the bankruptcy, go after that. Okay, I've had the most success, and I've literally followed that forever. So yes, I go after items first, then a bankruptcy. So okay, you have your secured card. How long do you have to keep it? How do you go after the items? Oh, you know, right after discharge, honey, they really have a lot of inaccuracies a lot of times. So, and I just make sure that they're all reporting correctly. And if it's right after discharge, they should have started reporting correctly before you got discharged because they got the automatic stay. Okay, so a little notation should have gone on there. They didn't have to zero it out at that point because you haven't been discharged. But when you get those discharge papers, that's when you go in. All right? So now you're ready to rebuild. You got those secured cards. How long? We should connect and do a blab together. Oh, I would love to. I've never done blab. You know what? I was talking to another young lady who said the same thing. I was like, oh, me and technology. But yes, honey, let's do it. I love I did watch you. You were the very first blab that I did, Angel, that I watched. The very first blab, and you were awesome. So, okay. You have this secured card. You have the secured loan. When do you add on the other one? I literally start building up every 3 to 4 months. Yes, awesome. Every 3 to 4 months I add on. I'll tell you my own, and I follow this exact same procedure when I was doing my Fresh Start program, which is where I would do a 12-month program, and we would do monthly budgeting sessions. Okay, I'll use the link in your bio. I'll use the link. I don't know if I connected you with you on Facebook yet. If not, we'll connect, honey. We'll connect. I know you have a Facebook group, too, that I heard on one of your blabs, too. And I was like, I forgot the name of it, though. So throw it up here. I'll watch the replay and get it. So every 3 to 4 months. So what do I do? Number one, you got your secured card. Okay, where are your scores now? When you have that new credit and you're keeping super duper low balances and you've been paying on time for 3 months. I've never done a blab, but I've signed up for a blab for Virginia. I've never done one, though. That is my goal for this quarter. So if Angel's going to be the one that I do the blab with, come on, Angel, let's rock it out, okay? Okay, so another thing that I mentioned, I forgot, I did the secured, but Fingerhood is also very lenient as well. Fingerhood is very lenient as well. And if you watch the last merchant account ones where I did the rebuild and I matched your credit scores to different products that match those scores so you can reduce the amount of inquiries and denials and all that good stuff, it should be on my Catch account, catch.me/FrglCrediTnista. Those apply as well. So you have your Fingerhood, your merchant cards. There's a laptop one. It's called USA something. It's a laptop one, though. Let me see if I have it on here. But that one's really good, too, if you just want something to report. When I'm rebuilding, though, I really like to focus really address on what? Oh, catch, K with a K, .me/my handle, FrglCrediTnista. Catch.me/FrglCrediTnista. So after this, after you've had your 2 secured cards, now I'm going to move into another subprime card. Yes, subprime card, because that's what it is. So that's when you're going to do your first premier again, see if you qualify, credit one again, see if you qualify, if you didn't qualify before. You're going to do the Fingerhuts, you're going to do the merchant accounts like the My Jewelers, what's the other one? Down to Shop, the laptop one I just mentioned, the US laptop one. I'll get this. I'll do a blog post on this, and I'll post it to my page so you guys can get it. But that will be your next step, and it is a subprime because you have to prove yourself again. You just got all your creditors, okay, and you just discharged them through bankruptcy, so you're not going to get A1 credit anymore after this. Your accounts that you enter into now won't be all that awesome sauce, okay? Oh, thank you so much. Tell her it's hi. Don't know which one. Hi. Hi, Dr. Valerie. So that's your next step. Now, once you have this second card, a lot of people are tempted to run their utilization up again. don't do that. Still keep it low. Still keep it at that 10%, okay? If you were in the, I see a lot of people from the last scope were on this one, all right? So we keep it low because of how FICO scores us. And it's typically, I notice, in 10%, and 20% increments, okay? So, and this is just for me and my conversations with other like super duper awesome credit professionals, including John Alzheimer. He's very popular in the credit industry, including Jesse Rodriguez, another super one, Mike Citron, another super awesome one. So this is from just learning and watching my clients as well, that in 20% increments, I start noticing some reductions. But if I keep my clients, especially if they are very sensitive, thanks for your vitamin. Oh, hey, Sandy Howard. I love your scopes, honey. You have like the best money-making scopes on the face of the planet. The best. Okay, so usually if you get up to that 20%, you know, that's when you'll lose a little itty-bitty points, right? 30%, you lose some points. Everybody said keep it at 30%. That is not the rule. Keep it under 30%. But if you just filed bankruptcy, you need to be under that 10%. You need to be under that 10%. I keep my clients actually at 7%. And I give them specifically in that budget. This is your credit limit. I don't care what that card paper said. I don't care what that paper said. When you just filed bankruptcy, it is super duper sensitive. Your account is sensitive. You're on the worst scoring card of all of them. Like with the bankruptcy, that's literally the worst scoring card. So keep it under 7%. Will this info be for those who filed Chapter 13? Actually, I did cover some things in Chapter 13. At Chapter 13, it works a little bit differently because usually before you're out of it, you can apply to the trustee to start building your credit limits. But with that discharge, you're actually paying, before you discharge, you're still paying on it. So FICO treats that a little bit better. A little bit better. It's still negative, but it's not as negative as Chapter 7. So it's still negative, but you're typically, I always advise to ask the trustee, you do have to give permission, if you can start building before you're done with it. Because if you wait like 5 years and you're just making those payments, I mean, you've wasted a lot of time. Whereas with Chapter 7, as soon as you discharge, like within 90 days, you can start building. So it's really good to try to appeal to the trustee to start building something. But your utilization is still going to be key. Keeping your balances low and paying on time. That's with anybody, but especially of the utmost importance with individuals who just filed bankruptcy. Especially, okay? So 6 months. You have the 6 months part. You have secured card loan, which should be done by now because they give them out in 6 months. Apply for another one, okay? If you're budgeting properly, like most of my clients can, we can go in with about $1,000. That's going to look really decent on your accounts. You're going to have your secured, going back to work thing. Okay, I'll have the replay and I'll post it in our group. So you're going to have the secured card that you're still doing really good with. You're going to have your secured loan you're doing. You already paid the other one for 6 months on time. You're going to have your other subprime account because you're reproving yourself, right? Remember, before we even got all these cards, we got our budget on point because if you mind your money, then your credit scores will go. If you go on here with the same habits that got you into bankruptcy, that's when you have people running up their finger hut cards, running up their secured cards, running up their new Credit One cards and First Premiers. And these are like super high interest rate cards here. Then you're going to notice that it's going to tank even more. It's going to tank even more. When you are on a bankruptcy scorecard, every little negative thing you do, you get double dinged. You get double dinged because the theory is, did you not learn your lesson? That is FICO's perception. Did you not learn your lesson? So that's why the very first thing, budgeting, you pop, okay? Before you even get a card. So, okay? We're rocking out at 6 month stage, right? We're rocking out at the 6 month stage. So usually at around the 6 month, you should be able to get a Capital One if you've been doing everything right. Thank you so much, Sandy. You should be able to get a Capital One. The only exception is Capital One can be a little sensitive if they were one of the accounts that you discharge. And if that's the case, you'll have to ride out the full 12 months. So you really have to know. I gave you different accounts that you can do in a rebuild. And again, this was chosen by a few of the groups in my group, a few of the members of my group, Credit Makes Sense, because some of them have filed bankruptcy and they're looking to rebuild. So what are the cards that we went over? Secured, obviously. No credit check if you don't want to go through inquiry. Only the pre-qualifications. Inquiries are very sensitive on a bankruptcy scorecard. Okay, very sensitive, everything's sensitive, but you know, inquiries tied to a denial, that's a no-no. So do the pre-qualifications to make sure you're not getting dinged for the hard inquiry for no reason. Like, don't go applying for Barclay, Apple, and Chase, and that's A paper. That's another level. You'll get there at about maybe 3 to 4 years. Kanye sensitive, boo. Yes. yes. And you're still keeping it low. Okay. So now after you have done the 6 months and you've applied to either a Capital One, if you didn't get Capital One and you didn't get Credit One yet, try Credit One. And remember, I told us paying everything to zero. This is not one of the moments. Another question that I got on here was, do I leave a little bit of balance onto the next billing cycle? No, because if you're dealing with these subprime accounts, they charge interest from the time the transaction posts to the account. So as soon as you buy something, it posts, boom, interest. You don't want that because your money always will come before credit. Okay? Money before credit. Your money goes and debt goes, all that before credit. All right? So now you're at this point where you either have your Capital One or your Credit One goal. Now you can kind of creep up to a little bit on that 10% mark. I do not let my clients go above 10% until they have broached the 650 mark. And even then, I'm still a below 20% fan. I am not at that 30% life. That's just not what I like. So now you are at a second credit builder loan with your credit union. You have about 2 to 3 credit cards. You should start seeing a nice little increase because you now should be around that 9 to 12 month around this time. You really don't have to add on other credit until your credit score tells you do. 650 is the mark, and you can usually get there with good budgeting, good payment skills, and all of that in about a year. Okay, so now it's about going to better forms of credit at this time. Better forms of credit. Usually at the 650 mark, you should definitely, and a year has passed, you should definitely be doing Capital One. You may be able to get a Barclay. There's a pre-qualification with Discover. You won't get their IT card, but there's another card below the IT card that you may be able to get. They have a pre-qualification tool with that. Yes, you're still doing the pre-qualifications because you're still on the bankruptcy scorecard and you remain there until the bankruptcy is gone. But the older that bankruptcy gets and the more positive information you keep feeding it, positive payment history, positive low balances, low inquiries, credit mix. Remember, we talked about the installments and we talked about the credit cards. That's when you're going to see that score increase a little bit. And so will you need to pay the annual fee that's associated with that secured, no credit check secured card again now that you're able to get these better forms of credit? I don't have my clients do it. Yes, I have them close the account. Oh, thank you. Yes, I have them close an account. But oh my God, isn't closing the account detrimental? It's only 11 months old. No, it's not that detrimental. It's only 11 months old. Everything is new during that time. And hopefully by that year, you've gotten another card, like I mentioned, the Capital One. That's a really great beginner card because it grows with your credit score that is going to buffer the closing of that account because that account doesn't have that much history. And once you start getting some better quality accounts, and those little bootleg subprime accounts are no longer welcome in your wallet. Not in your wallet. They are not welcome in your wallet. So you let them go. The great thing is that the payment history that's tied to that account, oh, thank you. The great thing is that the payment history, the positive payment history that you have on that account, that stays for 10 years from the date that you've closed it. Yes, you get the benefits of that for 10 years. When's the best time to close this account? When all of the balances of your cards, we're not including your installment loan, of your cards at zero. Why? Because then you won't have to worry about the negative effects of the utilization that's going to take place. Because once you close the card, then, you know, the balance, the limit, and all that needs to be at zero. And since your utilization is now gone from that card, thank you, Dr. Valerie. That makes me feel so great since it's coming from a doctor. So you want it at zero, so you don't have to worry about that whole utilization thing. Okay? So now that says zero. You can close it out. You get the payment history for full 10 years. You have this now better forms of credit that is going with your Capital One, potentially your Discover. And you're going to do the same thing. You're going towards the better forms of credit. So using this, I have successfully brought my clients from bankruptcy scorecard, busted and disgusted credit card scores within 15 to 24 months into the 700s. Now, will you be at like 780? No, you're still fairly new on the bankruptcy scorecard within 24 months, but you should be at the 702, 723, 708, 710. It's a heck of a lot better than the 4s and 5s that you were at. Amen. Amen. Any questions? Because I know I went through that. You say, yes, it is. I know I went through that a little bit quick. Amen. Okay. It's a lot better at that moment. And a lot of people ask me, when can I fully recover from bankruptcy? No, it's not the 10 years. Actually, you'll fully recover at about 5 years. And that's actually not that bad. It's actually not that bad. Because now at 5 years, you can get your Chase, you can get your Discover It, you can get your Bank of America, you can get your, there's some people who won't touch you. American Express ain't gonna touch you with the bankruptcy out there. Unless it's like really about to come off. There's still some people who won't touch you. I have an investor, I'm in real estate as well. I have an investor, they won't give him, his investment loan because of the bankruptcy that happened in like 2008, I think, 2007, 8. So yeah, it's a really long time. So there you still get like, I don't know, even though you've proven yourself, but fortunately there's other lenders as well who will give you a chance. Okay, any questions? I'm going to review my questions I had from the group to make sure that I got everything. Remember to never let any bill hit that 30-day late. Oh, we not letting nothing hit late on the bankruptcy. No, after bankruptcy on that scorecard, nothing can be late. It is pertinent. I mentioned this earlier. You get double dinged. Double dinged. The concept is, did you not learn? Did you not learn? And now you're on a bankruptcy scorecard and you got a 30-day late? FICO is like, what? You will see that all that little work that you did, it will start to tank. And that's why I listed the time frame, because you're not doing it immediately. At the onset of the scope, I mentioned that the 2 mistakes that I see people make is number 1, acting too quickly, jumping back into the credit game, and number 2, taking too long. Like it's some people, it's been 7 years and they're like, I need to rebuild my credit. Like, what? 7 years, girl, you should have been, or man, you should have been. Did it. I need to review this, come in late. I'll review it. I'll keep it up. I don't delete them for a while. Oh, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. So realistic, how long would it take to obtain decent credit? I mentioned that you should be able to get it within about 15 to 24 months. How did you clean up your bankruptcy, your credit after bankruptcy? Exactly what I told you. I listed it. I have a credit comeback. That's exactly what it says. Credit comeback on my blog, mnhcreditsolutions.com. I did step by step. Step 1 did this. Step 2 did this. Interestingly enough, my very first step was never filing for credit. It's always pause, reflect, flush. Because you can't allow your past to dictate what your future is going to look like. Awesome info. Your past. Absolutely. This is I love me some finance. Credit is my number 1 because I went through so much getting to this point that obviously I needed to learn how to manage my money more. So that happened about 2011. Actually, before that, around 2010, I had my last surgery for my cervical cancer in 2011. And that's when I realized I need to get my whole life together. And it didn't take long. I mean, 2011, by the time we got to 2012, we had purchased a nice little house, got a chance to take advantage of the foreclosure market. I mean, how many of you have ever seen a deal come by and said, dang, I wish I could take advantage of that? And you see everybody else benefiting and you over there looking goofy because you can't afford to make moves. Either your credit jacked up or your money messed up. Okay? I was sick of that. So by the time I filed my bankruptcy, okay, thank you, honey. By the time I filed that bankruptcy, I got my money right. I started looking at the market and I started seeing these deals. Not only was I able to do that, but I was always also able to monopolize on the investment side of it. Okay, got a little extra cash flow coming in. That would not have happened had I not been through what I went through. I still would have been the young little fresh 20s, popping her money off somewhere, eating out, traveling, living a life, and not really worried about the future. Unfortunately, we live for the right now without thinking for the future. So, I mean, I won't say thank God I went through it, but thank God I learned the lesson. Thank God I had my babies, because that definitely allowed me to look at things in a totally different perspective. MNH. There's a link in the bio, goes right to my contact page. But we do post-bankruptcy discharge plans for people. It's called a consultation, but it's extremely thorough. We review everything that I just mentioned to you. Everything from budgets to reviewing your credit reports, making sure that everything is reporting correctly. We also go in and create a full plan on how to rebuild and follow up as well. What if you had surgery on last year and my credit is messed up because I couldn't work? What are you saying? How are you going to rebuild? Or what do you mean, what if? Can you still, I mean, you can always rebuild. That's one thing. Credit is dynamic. It's going to constantly change, go up and down while you're in the rebuilding phase. But the thing is to try to maintain consistency afterwards. That's why I always state the first thing shouldn't be rebuild my credit. get my life right, get my money right, then jump into credit. Okay, then jump into credit. Money always before credit. Get the money right. Okay, have your financial money habits match your purpose. You have a wonderful story. If you put forth the effort, you can rebuild. Absolutely, you can definitely not only put forth the effort, put up a strategic plan. Do you handle clients? Yes, I do. The only clients that I do not handle are from Atlanta. I just provide a little advice because you guys got some strict credit rules. Super strict. And South Carolina. Okay, those are the ones that I don't do full-blown services for, but I will provide direction, consultations, and such. Authorized user account. This is an unrelated question. What is a good rate for a car loan? My sister wanted to add me as an authorized user on her credit card. If she has great history, no lates, low balances, go for it. I went from 5 figs to around 50 a year when accident filed BK and was sick of the life change. 5 figs to around 50K a year. I mean, that's pretty much my story as well. I mean, whatever you guys want to do, you can definitely do. Your past, what you're going through right now, does not dictate your future. Let me co-sign a car for my daughter after bankruptcy. Now she's helping me build my credit. Oh, great. Virginia, whatever rate you can get. We went in, we got a 2 point something, 2.9, I believe it was. But I had another client who got like a 1 point something. Another one got like no interest for a year or so. When is credit no longer considered new credit? That's a good question. New credit is anything that's newer. So it's not, once you kind of get some more history, I mean, it's still kind of new. Hi, it's Fred Lady. Welcome, welcome, welcome. It's still kind of new, like around a year, 2 years. That's considered like newish credit, 24 months. I wasn't able to pay on my credit cards because I couldn't work after my surgery. What is my option? What are the balances now? More than likely, if you can pay on them, they are charged off. They're in collections. But more than likely they're pursuing you, but they're probably not actively with the original creditor anymore, and I'm pretty sure they're not open. So find out the status of each one. I'm not sure how long ago this happened. If you're one of those fortunate states who has a very short statute of limitations, use that to your advantage. Definitely. Because if it's past your statute of limitations, they can no longer enforce payment of the debt. And being told is still new credit. 4 years isn't that new. It's not. Hi, Faith in Illinois. I'm in Illinois. 4 years isn't that new. It's not super old. I mean, especially when you consider that some people have credit for probably as long as we've been alive. Like people with 850 credit scores, they have some pretty nice looking history. I mean, I don't know if Sandy from Yes I Am Sheep is on here, but when she showed her credit scores, honey, I was too jealous. But I mean, I mean, when you have people with some significant history who've been building credit since like 21 and they're now in their 40s and 50s, that's old credit. So new credit is 24 months. 4 years is still fairly new, but it's not like super duper new. People with 4 years worth of positive credit history and hardly anything negative can get to about 750s. They stay on there for 10 years from the date filed. Do you have any advice for first-time home buyers? I've been rebuilding my credit. Advice: have some money saved up. Have a full year or more of absolutely stellar payment history. And interestingly enough, the number one denial reason is debt to income ratio, not credit scores. Because there's some lenders out there that can get you approved with a 550 with some money, but your debt to income ratio is jacked up. Statute of limitations for Illinois is 5 years for open forms of credit, which is credit scores. And it is 10 years for like written and promissory notes, and like up to 20 for judgments. What's the real way of building credit? I literally just went through all of that, but the real way, I told you that credit cards factor into your scores the most. Paying on time, keeping those balances super low, nix the whole 50%, 30%, you want it under that. That is the way that you build credit. Paying on time, keeping balances super low, because credit is a tool. It's not meant for you to use it. Yeah, you got it. I got like almost $100,000 in credit card debt. Do you think I'm using it? Absolutely not. I still stick to my under 10%. Like I'm paying bills with it. I'm not paying extras. I've heard as long as you are around 590, but for a home, 620 to 630. You can get like a 550. I have 2 lenders that do 550 as long as people have about 10% of the down payment down. They'll do that 550, 580. You can still get it. The interest rate is not that great. I prefer 640 to 650. You do get better deals. You get even greater at 680 to 720. I have an account that's 3546, but I can't get this account on. You can't get the account on your report. What kind of account is it? If it's a credit report. And then, like I've always stated in a lot of my scopes and blogs and all that good stuff, voluntary. Nobody has to report anything. except for child support agencies. What is statute of limitations? 4 years. My credit was destroyed by mostly hospital bills. Well, depending on when it occurs, we do have the advantage of the Affordable Care Act, sport lady. So if you still owe, I would apply for financial assistance. They do get all up in your business and ask for your finances, but it's a great way to either get it greatly reduced or completely forgiven. One of my closest friends have, you have no idea, it's only reference an agent account. One of my closest friends had a son who went through brain surgery. She also has a daughter who was diagnosed with type 1 diabetes, so they had to get all that medication and all that together, and she was able to get tens of thousands wiped out for financial assistance or charity care. Each one names it differently. Do you have to do the application, and do you have to do check stubs and all that good stuff? But even if they reduce it, great. Another thing, you always want to check your statute of limitations. You always want to check your statute of limitations. I'm going to repeat this again. You always want to check your statute of limitations before you pay an older debt. Oh, thank you, honey. So what's my best option of the statute of limitations if I couldn't pay on my credit cards? What you mean of the statute of limitations? Thank you, Bella. Have not passed. Is that what you're asking me? So kind of clarify that for me, and then I can answer that more appropriately. Make sure you guys are following me. I see I got some new people in here, so make sure you guys hit that follow button. I usually come in here every Wednesday, giving awesome scopes. I let my group, Credit Makes Sense. If you do the link in the bio, you can see how you can join. I let them decide. We do a lot of dope credit and money information in our group. Right now, which I'm super excited about, we are breaking down our goals and aligning it with our purpose, with our core values, because that's the only way we're going to stick to them. How many of you guys are, oh, thank you. How many of you guys have made goals and not accomplished them and then be like, oh, how is it 2016 and I still ain't did X, Y, and Z? So that's why you got to align your money. It is an instrument. You got to align it with your core goals and what you really want. So that's what we're working on right now in our group. But yes, so sports lady, let me know if I answered that for you. Is there a way to negotiate a settlement with a credit collection company? Absolutely. Oh, thank you, Kimmy. I appreciate that. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Welcome. I negotiate with everything, honey. I settle my little way out of stuff, okay? If a debt will fall off in a couple of years, payment arrangement, let it fall. If it'll fall off in a couple of years, that means it's about 5 years old. More than likely, it's past your statute of limitations. Unless you absolutely have to pay it. And I know a lot of people disagree with me on this, but I don't care. If it's past my statute of limitations, I do not let my clients pay it. Like, why? Unless a lender for your home is saying, I will not give you this mortgage loan unless you pay off this debt. Then I'm like, what's more important? Your statute of limitations and this debt or your house? Obviously the house. So obviously that's when we do it. But other than that, if it's past my statute of limitations and it's a collection, I will write that collection company and say, this is past my statute of limitations. Basically, that means that they cannot sue you. They cannot do anything but report in your credit report and harass you via the phone and the mail. And you can put a stop to all that. Stop calling me. Stop mailing me. It definitely will be contacting you more. Oh, thank you. All right, I look forward to it. Stop mailing me. You can't stop them in most states, not all states, but in most states, you can't stop them from reporting on your credit report. Are you FHA ready? I wish I'd known that before I paid a charge off that. Charge off is typically with the original creditor, but still, it tanked your score. You know why? They updated the reporting date. So it doesn't elongate the time frame that it stays on your report. But when they update the reporting date, then FICO views it as a little newer, so it gets scored bad. But it should adjust in a little bit. If you're FHA ready, you've paid your everything on time for a while, you have a credit score that fits within their alignment, your debt to income ratio still has to be low. The cards that I couldn't pay after surgery. So you should just have to go into a bank and get applied, but you want to check with 3. I always have my real estate clients check with their local bank, their bank. If they have a credit union, check with them. And then check with a mortgage broker and shop them around and see which one is the best. You have a shop around, 30-day shop around with the latest structure of FICO. Older is 14 and the very, very new are 45. So I stay right within that 30 days. But you have 30 days to shop around and it's going to show up as one inquiry. So even though you'll see all the inquiries and who had access to your credit reports, it'll only count as one. How do you get old creditors that are labeled included in vacay off your credit report? I dispute them. And don't be afraid to reach out to the creditor too, because what benefit do they have for reporting in your credit report? A lot of times when the credit bureaus say, oh, we verified it's right, it was included in bankruptcy, you can go to the creditor and like, okay, well, this is discharged in bankruptcy, it's still in my credit report, would you mind removing them since you're no longer actively collecting on my account? A lot of times they'll remove them too. I know notice a lot of credit professionals only dispute just with the bureaus, but you can get a lot accomplished by going to both and sometimes even simultaneously. Go to both. Don't just stick with the credit bureaus trying to get stuff off. Go to the creditor. A lot of times if the creditor knows they're not going to get their money, has been discharged, they got the automatic stay. And of course, case law has already proven that reporting to credit bureaus is a form of collection activity. So if they legally can no longer collect on this debt due to the automatic stay in bankruptcy laws, then I kind of say, well, you can't collect on it. What benefit are you having it on my credit report? Sometimes it works. And it comes off. So do it that way. I miss Faith's question. Faith, if these are medical and it's within your statute of limitations, then you want to apply for charity care. You want to apply for charity care. Mentioned a ratio earlier. Debt to income ratio. There are so many. How do I stop a collection agent to stop calling me about a credit? Oh, tell them to stop calling you, ask for their address, and send them a cease and desist letter. You either want the address or the fax number. It just has to be in writing. You can't just say, stop calling me. It has to be in writing so you can pull on your consumer rights under the Fair Debt Collection Practices Act. So that's how you do that. That's very easy. Other than that, you want to apply for financial charity, get that out. As far as debt to income ratio, that is the number one thing that stops a lot of people from being approved for a home. I get clients who get like up to 650, 680, but their debt load is not right because you have to be able to prove that you can afford the house and its expenses, and they do the calculations. There's some great calculators. Realtor.com, Bankrate has some great ones. If you just type in debt to income ratio calculator, you can do a lot of that. We have a rent to own consultation where we do all of that for you. We check your credit reports and tell you tips on how to improve it. We check your debt to income ratio. We tell you how much home you can afford based on what the expenses and everything that you've given us. So it's really, really, really thorough. I'm learning a ton. Oh, thank you, Queen Rose. I love that name, Queen Rose. Love it. So, that's one of our consultations as well. Just to make sure that you're on the right track. So we mentioned 2 consultations in this scope. We've mentioned the rent to home and the post-bankruptcy one, but those are really good. So let me know. You're welcome, Aisha. If there's anything else, let me know. But that's that. So hopefully I answered all of you guys' questions. Not my contact info was in there. You can shoot me a message. I literally give all of my blog topics, my scope topics, all of that from you guys. So shoot me a message. Let me know if you want assistance. A lot of my credit information can be found in my DIY kits. If you click the link in the bio, go to my store, you'll see my DIY kit. It hosts a lot of this information along with 100 dispute letters, a log, and specific tips on how to use them to soar your credit scores. It's true that student loans have to be included in debt to income ratio. Yes, it is, but not all of them. Are you Jersey? You sound Jersey. Do I? I'm Chi-Town. I am Chicago. I've never had anybody tell me that I sound Jersey. That is bananas. I love my Jersey people, though. Love them, love them, love them. So let me know. Yes, but that's where you can get all of this good info from. If you want a consultation, definitely let me know. Get you on the right track. But yeah, click the link. Do you talk about chapter? Yes, I did. I did talk about chapter 13. I'm going to do a blog post on it because it works a little bit differently. But if you watch the replay, I went back and forth between chapter 7 and chapter 13. But the main thing to remember is don't let the chapter 13 discharge completely. What restarts? That is a great question. Let me show you a book while I have all of that in. Do I have it on here? Let me see. I would not have my book up here once I get to this topic, wouldn't I? But different things for different states, right? So I have a book called Stop Hiding 10 Proven Strategies to Face Debt Collectors Head On. It is on Amazon. I usually have it during my scopes. But anyway, what restarts the statute of limitations? Number one thing is repaying. But some states, this is why it's important to know your state laws, some states even if you make a payment, it still doesn't restart because your payment was not made in writing. If you're in Wisconsin, I know, remember offhand because I have a client I just started there, that's one of the states. So even if you paid it, that doesn't restart it. It has to be a payment arrangement made in writing. Other states, paying it restarts it. In other states, if you make a promise of repayments, but then you have to dig a little deeper to see what that promise is. Because although it can be a verbal promise, there has to be little contingencies to that verbal arrangement that varies by state. So it really is a state-by-state basis. But typically, the number one thing as far as most states, as far as most states is paying. Paying will restart the statute of limitations. And a lot of people get statute of limitations and reporting limitations mixed up. Your statute of limitations is based on your state, And it varies from state to state because it is a state law. Your reporting limitations is federal, and it governs how long an item can remain on your credit report. A lot of people are under, thanks Ms. T, the impression, your face looks familiar. I've probably seen you on another scope on Facebook somewhere, Ms. T. A lot of people are under the impression that if they make a payment on something on their credit report or admit the debt of a collection or anything like that, that it's going to restart the reporting limitations. No, 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 no. And I know there's so many like really respectable credit professionals who state this. I don't know why. Ever since 1999, yes, 1999, nothing more negative on that account can make it stay on longer. The only thing that you can pay and it remains on your credit report longer is a tax lien, because a tax lien will fall off 7 years from the date of release. That's one of the fall off dates. 7 years from the date of release. What's release? When you pay it, when you settle it. But now there's a form on the government's website that if you meet those arrangements, not the government, well, I guess the IRS is government, on the IRS website, where if you meet certain conditions, they'll actually withdraw the tax lien from your credit report. So they'll withdraw the tax lien from the public records, withdraws it from your credit reports, as long as you meet those requirements. So I always tell people, if you pay on it, actually get it withdrawn, get it off. I mean, they can't say nothing but no, right? Get it off. But the tax lien is the only thing that you can pay and it can legally remain on your credit report. So not a collection, not a charge off, none of that. A statute of limitations on your credit cards? No, if it's open, there is no statute of limitations. And because I had paid off charge off still on my report. Yeah, they'll remain on your report because they'd get deleted 7 years from the date of delinquency. Okay, so I can still pay on it, but it must come off after 7 years from the date of first delinquency. What does date of first delinquency means? It means that the date that you last made a payment and never brought the account current again. I'll repeat that. The date that you last made a payment and you never brought the account current again. Sometimes it listed, especially if you're looking at a report directly from the credit bureau. So you can't be on like Credit Karma or Privacy Guard or something like that and think you're going to find this date. No, that's why anything that I teach off of, like when I do my workshops, I have to start doing webinars so I can reach more people. I have you guys I have my students pull the reports directly from the credit bureaus. That is so funny. It's true, boo. But I had a couple of those moments too. But it's 7. Look on the reports from the credit bureaus. You can also, if you've already pulled your free one from annualcreditreport.com, you can get another free one from Quizzle. I mean, it's not all 3. It's just Equifax's. But Equifax reports are like always over, 70 pages. But it's a lot of thorough information. And you'll find that date. You'll find the payment history. You'll know what's negative, what's positive. So Quizzle.com is actually a really great report if you just want to see how Equifax is looking. And most negative reports, like serious ones in major companies, report to all 3. Oh, you like Quizzle too? Yeah. So check Quizzle out if you're kind of looking to see some dates of first delinquency. And it'll literally say date of first delinquency. A lot of people say it's date of last activity, but that changed via law as well, because activity on a report can mean anything. If you notice, if we dispute something, the date of last activity changes to the date that they verified everything. So a lot of people were freaking out. Oh my God, it's going to stay on 7 years more. No. So that's why they stopped that. I was in my 20s and the 90s and still trying to recoup my credit. You need a rebuilding plan, honey. I mean, my stuff just happened 2011 and I rebuilt. You want some help? Click the link in the bio. I mean, even a consultation is help. But unless the money hasn't been right, I noticed that when their money is a little funny, then it's a lot harder to rebuild because you do need to have some form of consistent income. But I have a client who makes very little and she lives in New York and she's doing phenomenal. If an account is due to fall off December 2017, should you dispute as past, they need to put you on TV One. What? Stop that, AJ. Boy, I tell you, you better be following me so we can give you the 2017. A lot of people don't understand dispute. Disputing process is if an account does not meet 4 specific requirements. Number 1, it must be 100% accurate. Is this account accurate? Number 2, it must be 100% complete. A lot of people miss that one. They totally miss over the complete. But it must have complete information because missing information can be taking your scores. Okay? Number 3, is it verifiable? Sometimes the bureaus will come back as verified, and a lot of people just stop there and keep disputing with the bureaus, but you should be also disputing with the original creditor, the collection agency, the entity that's reporting on your report. Make sure that they can verify it. And number 4, is it timely? Is it past the 7-year reporting time that we discussed, or 10-year if you're talking about a Chapter 7 bankruptcy? So those are your reasons for disputing. Some people dispute just to see. I don't think you should hire a professional for that. If you want to do it as a consumer, have at it. The chances of it getting deleted when it's older and has been closed for a while does increase because, they don't want to take the manpower, the time, or if it's a larger corporation, the click of a button. That's how easy it is for some of them. They just don't do it. You can lug up. Great, but it's not going to. Thanks, True Movement. I look forward to working with you. But other than that, it may not be worth it. And then a lot of people remove these negative information, but they fail to realize that on some of these charge-off accounts and things of that sort, it may have negative information now, but it's tied to a lot of positive information. I'll give you an example. I actually reviewed a credit report today for a consultation. She had an account from 1996. 1996. It became negative in 2013. So does that take away all of that positive information from 1996 to 2013 when it started getting late payments and was eventually charged off in 2013? Absolutely not. That positive info is still great. That's some great payment history. So yes, I know you bummed out that this charge off is on your credit report, but I'm not going to risk all those years of payment history being dropped by disputing this thing, which I can see from my naked eye is reporting okay, unless you give me documentation that it's not. We're just going to rebuild around it. Let's start putting some a student loan from 1994 in deferment. Student loans actually have a lot of good payment history. Even though you're not paying them, that's still a lot of history because they still report okay. Now, if you have some reporting no data and it's negative now, I'm going to say, can you update this so it can reflect all of that good payment history that I made through this year, through that year, or that date to that month to that month, so I can get some of that payment history. And then you have a lot of people who've been in default for a while, so you kind of got away. You always want to make sure that the accounts with more positive payment history than negative stays. Depending on what else is reporting on your credit report. Because a lot of people, I don't know if you ever heard, I disputed this and my score is tanked. You got rid of some good history. That's why. A lot of people also make the mistake of disputing things that are not negative. Like you have an account that maybe had a negative late payment in 2010, but you brought it current again. And because it's listed, because how most of the bureau's reports do, they'll give you your list of negatives first, and then they'll give you a list of satisfactory accounts, right, that you've been paying on time. So you'll see this account with a 2010 late payment, so maybe a string of them, but you brought it current and you were paying on time for maybe 2-3 years. And they're like, I gotta delete that. It's a negative on there from 2010. That's like, what happened? My score's tanked. That's why. Leave that account alone. I am a victim of identity theft. Then you should be doing the FTC fraud affidavit. If you Google it, they literally give you step-by-step process in addition to the dispute letters. And they literally lay it out. Boom, boom, boom. Who took out student loans? I must have missed part of that reborn raw. I'm sorry. Post it back. I'll admit, I'll look for you next time. Serious, just as you know from experience, our people do bad with credit because no one ever should. Yes, I do. And that's why I tell you everybody to follow. Yes, I Am Cheap, His and Her Money, who were on here earlier. Luxurious Credit does some bomb stuff. If you're on Instagram, who am I Instagram? Oh, man, Jesse Rodriguez is a great one. He does free things, free events, and I want to say Washington. That's totally free, so if you know anybody up there. Who else? Brian Howard, he's in Atlanta. He does a lot of stuff on Facebook under Brian Howard. Who else? Akira, she's on Instagram. She does a lot of things. So Akira and Arnita with Luxurious Credit do a lot of things on Instagram. And the reason why I'm giving you, even so, you giving us your creditors? This is a movement, honey, and it takes more than one person. Arnita is also on here on Luxurious Credit on she did a really, really good one. It's probably expired now. It was on student loans. So I think it's important that we, on my report, they were reported 5 years after. On my report, that was reported 5 years after my state's 4-year statute of limitations. Can I dispute? Yes, I need to get my credit right before I know that's right. Anita is great. Anita is great. Akira is great. Brian Howard is great. Jesse Rodriguez is great. Keith Knapp, he does a lot of things on Facebook. He is phenomenal. He's beyond great. He's phenomenal. I'm a victim of, they took out student loans in my name. you can actually did you contact the student loan department, the Osbusman, I believe it's called, department? They help a lot with that. I had a client that went through that and they nixed that really quick. They contacted the school and they really, but I would still do the FTC fraud affidavit just to make sure. I will still do that. And just because, as I mentioned earlier, the comment about, what do you mean it doesn't work? Don't say that. MNHCreditSolutions.com. Mary Nancy Henry Credit Solutions with an S.com. They're really good about that. So I would definitely do, I don't know what I was saying before. Sorry. What's your site? I want to keep up. MNH, Mary Nancy Henry CreditSolutions.com. I got to check that link. I just put it up there. I just did a little bit.ly, so I probably didn't write it right. So I'm sorry, guys. I've been saying check the link. It's giving an error. All right, let me make sure I wrote it right. Is it wrong to use my income tax refund to pay for your services? You know what? I am an investment, so I know you will be on the right track afterwards. So, and I always tell people, not everybody needs full-blown services. So that's why I do my consultation so thoroughly. Because if you can just get on the right path, then great. Thank you, the Pocket AJ. I appreciate it. If you get a small business loan with bad credit from my credit union. Yep, that's right, Rebound Raw. You would need to build up some business credit if your personal credit is bad, because nobody's going to give you a business. Business is a whole nother beast. They want your, like the lowest that I saw for a business loan was like $650 requirement. Thanks, Reburn Raw. $650 requirement. That was the lowest for a loan, and the interest wasn't that great. So if you're on the business side of things, you want to be building up your business credit as well as your personal credit. Depending on how much funding you need, they're going to check both. Like some will just run your business credit and be okay. And it takes a little bit of time. It takes about 6 to 12 months to get a really solid paydex score. But other than that, they're going to check if you're getting a sizable loan, they're going to check your personal as well. So you're a beast when you have both of them on point. Both of them. And actually, business credit doesn't take that long. How do I build up my business credit? You need to be incorporated. So it doesn't have to be an Inc. It could be an LLC, any of that good stuff. You need to have your tax ID number, which is free on the IRS website. You need to have your DMV number, which is free on the Duns and Bradstreet website. So you need to have that DNB. You can put in Duns number. Google that. It'll come up. So that'll be on point. And then you need to start acquiring things in your name, not using your social, using EIN and that number. Before I even have people adding on accounts, I tell them to go open up a savings and a checking account under that EIN number, under that DUNS number. So you can start reporting on that you have that. And then you want to start getting easy accounts. The two that I got were Uline and Granger. Those are the two I got approved for. Uline kind of approves everybody. I haven't had anybody thus far get denied for it. So, but Uline is like the one, and then you start adding on. I'm usually about every 3 months adding on something new, getting up. I have a timeline that we go by in the goals. You have to have both the EIN. Yes, you do have to have both. You want both because DNB is the reporting and EIN is your business, like your business social security number, I guess you can say. And that's the reporting. Are you on catch? Yep. I usually make my stuff private. I will leave this one open. I don't think I gave away too much goodies. This is not going to be in my upcoming course or anything, so I'll leave this one open. But some of my stuff is on catch. You know about catch? They always catch me with the most craziest facial expression. Like, you're like, really? Of all my pretty, I come out smiling. Why can't you catch that one? Why you gotta catch me looking crazy? That's catch me making me mad. I look at my page and I'll be like, Lord, Lord, Lord. Catch, why are you doing this to me? But yeah, I got some things on there. If you guys are on Facebook, feel free to join my Facebook group. bit.ly, bit.ly/credit makes sense. Will you list these websites and cards somewhere? If you go to my website, there is a credit comeback. That is, if you do a search, credit come back, or search bankruptcy if that's easier. If you search on there, then you'll see like I literally list step by step exactly what I did, because I always get a question. Well, you rebuilt, you have this. What did you do? So here's what I did. In my Fresh Start consultation, that's exactly what I'll walk you through. I've been using that since I discharged in 2009, and it has worked that long because I'm teaching you better habits, which is what's going to push you forward. You have to have 2 business licenses if I live in Illinois, but used to live in Illinois. Are you doing business in both, and does your industry require you to have business licenses? You have to check out your industry to make sure. Like, for instance, I I would need to be registered here in Illinois and registered where I want to do business at. Even though I'm certified to do like wherever, but you do still need to be registered if you're going to be doing business in different states, in certain states. Even like with real estate, like even though like we want to invest some places and I like to have control over what I do. So when we decided to go start other areas, I started looking for areas that I have, what is the word called? Can't think of the word, but there's certain states that allow you to go in and you only take the state portion of the real estate exam. You don't have to take everything all over again. It's like a partnership, so to speak. So we picked those locations to start investing in. So I didn't have to register, but I did have to, if I wanted to get into the MLS and all of that, I had to follow those state rules. So you have to check your industry and kind of go from there. All right, guys. Y'all kept me late. Thank you so much for the heart. Cute. Oh, you guys kept me late out here. Reciprocity. Aww. So, thank you so much, Virginia. As always, you are the sweetest. Feel free to reach out to me. I look forward to contacting with you guys. Enjoy your Wednesday. I will be on here Friday at noon. Thank you for Q&A Friday. Having to, my group is going to pick the topic. So, if you guys want to be in there, definitely join Credit Makes Sense on Periscope. No, not Periscope. Facebook. Credit Makes Sense on Facebook. Bye. You're so welcome, Miss Reese Keeks. Thank you, guys. Enjoy your evening. Thanks.